Friends, we gather together this morning to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Eddie Rosenthal. Eddie's family so very much appreciates your presence here with them. Your presence offers them a great deal of comfort and support. Adonai ma'adam v'teda'ehu ben enosh v'atchashvehu. O Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and we go like grass which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and it withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, return, you mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away, our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright, they shall have peace. The author of the first of the Bible's 150 Psalms describes for us, in language that is both poignant and succinct, the nature of the good life and the fruits of that life. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, whose foliage never fades and whose fruit always flourishes. Let us take comfort together now in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kohelet, the author of the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, reminds us that for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Eddie Rosenthal died this past Tuesday at the age of 88. He lived a long and a full life, and he enjoyed good health well into his 80s. We mourn his loss. Eddie was born and raised in Baltimore, a city that he loved and a city that remained dear to him his entire life. He graduated from City College High School and attended college for a year before his father died, a consequence of which was that Eddie returned home to go to work. He spent some years as a salesman in the clothing business. Then he moved to Cleveland in 1957 to enter the family business at Regent Steel. In the 1970s, he started his own business, Manchester Steel. In fact, Eddie's entrepreneurial spirit led him to be involved in several businesses over the course of his life. The year 1973 was pivotal in the life of Eddie Rosenthal, for that was the year that he became a minority partner by investing in the New York Yankees. This indeed, according to his daughters, with whom I met yesterday afternoon, became the love of Eddie's life. He went to ball games, to spring training. He palled around with fabled baseball players like Reggie Jackson and Lou Piniella, sat in the owner's box whenever he wanted to, and wore his Yankees hat and coat with evident pride and glee. What a joy all these experiences must have been for Eddie. Indeed, Eddie's experience with the Yankees was, I sense, emblematic of the kind of life that Eddie lived, a life he enjoyed fully, well into his 9th decade. In fact, and so his family told me, Eddie was always larger than life, personable, gregarious, generous, kind, eager for relationship and for conversation, the life of the party, a free spirit. He befriended people with natural ease, and they in turn warmed to him. He loved playing Santa Claus for kids bound to hospitals during the Christmas holidays, and he did this for several years. In addition, he was involved with the Big Brother enterprise for many years. Eddie indeed was a man of many loves. His family, kids, bridge, racehorses, golf, music, singing. Indeed, Eddie Rosenthal was one of a kind. Eddie is survived by his daughters, Diane, Lynn, Amy, and Carrie, by his sons-in-law, Gary, Daryl, and Ryan, by his grandchildren, Michael and Tori, Adam, Jennifer, Jack, Sydney, Finn, and Avery, by his great-granddaughter, Abigail, by his sister, Nancy, and his brothers-in-law, Mark and Eric. He was predeceased by his parents, Edward and Hilda, by his brother, Louis, his sister, Lori, and by his sister-in-law, Charlotte. Eddie Rosenthal lived a big life, a life that seemed perfectly suited to his big personality. Those who loved and admired him will never forget him. Zichrono livracha. His memory will always be our blessing. Amen. I now want to call upon 3 of Eddie's grandchildren, Jack, Michael, and Adam, who will reflect on the life, the qualities, the accomplishments of their grandfather.
Hi, I'm Adam, one of Eddie's 7 grandchildren. They say a rich life is one full of being around people you love, and there's no question that Papa lived a rich life. For as long as I've known him, he was always surrounded by an endless number of people he cared about. His family, his friends, that random person he met at the supermarket 20 years ago. And as all these people can attest, he was a character. Truly one of a kind. He knew how to tap into people's emotions and left a lasting impression wherever he went. Just the other day, Jack and I were at a Yankees game, and Papa's friend Joe helped us get a picture with the first and only unanimous Hall of Famer, Mariano Rivera. Hey Mo, would you mind taking a picture? These are Ed Rosenthal's grandchildren. After taking the picture, Jack turned to Papa's friend. Do you really think he knows who my grandfather is? Without hesitation, he replied, of course. Everyone remembers Eddie. Papa's charm was on full display this past fall, the last of many baseball memories together. He came up to New York for the ALDS. This was playoff baseball against the Red Sox, so the owner's suite was packed with a star-studded crowd. Bill Clinton, the commissioner of the NBA, several NFL players. Despite all these celebrities, but maybe unsurprisingly, the person that everyone was gathered around was Papa. It was truly magical to see him in his element, lighting up as friends that have known him longer than I've been alive came to say hi and goodbye one last time. In addition to baseball, there was another recurrent theme as I went through memory lane: singing. From nonstop Frank Sinatra sing-along on a 2-hour car ride to spring training to proudly belting America the Beautiful during the 2018 playoffs in New York, Papa loved to sing. One of my favorite examples of this was his 85th birthday, where we invited a piano player over and got to experience Eddie live from Chagrin Falls for hours on end. And Papa's singing only got better with age, this year being no exception. With the help of his latest girlfriend, Alexa, he must have sung 500 plus songs with family and friends over these last 6 months. There is a reason that the only song I know how to play on the piano is New York, New York. Papa, you were everything a grandkid could ask for. Thanks for all the great memories and support. You taught us all what it means to live a life to its fullest, and you will be dearly missed.
Hi everyone, I'm Jack, Papa's grandson from Baltimore. When I think about my grandfather, I think about how lucky I was to have him in my life. Papa Eddie was my best friend. He was someone I could talk to about anything, whether it was sports, school, or anything else. The Yankees were usually the first topic of discussion. Some of my fondest memories with Papa were at the ballpark, whether it was spring training in Tampa, games in Baltimore, or hanging out together in the Yankees locker room. It was a sight to watch him hold court in the locker room. In a room filled with legends like Yogi Berra and Derek Jeter, it was Papa that the crowd was gathered around, telling jokes and stories. Our greatest baseball memory was the magical 2009 season, which ended us riding on the float together in the World Series parade. Another special bond we shared is that I grew up where Papa did, in Baltimore. When Papa would come to town, we would do his favorite local things together: eat crabs, get a chocolate snowball at Field Pharmacy, and visit his old stomping grounds. He had an amazing memory. We would drive around his childhood neighborhood, and he'd point out who lived in every house. It was impressive, but also a little scary. The area he grew up in isn't exactly very safe these days, but that didn't prevent Papa from knocking on random doors and introducing himself to skeptical strangers. Last October, he made what would be his final trip to Baltimore. Aunt Charlotte and her family came down. We reminisced over crabs. He watched my soccer game, except I'm told he didn't see much of it because he was too busy telling everyone, "Do you see number 11? That's my grandson." As proud as he was of me, I was more proud of him. Papa, you'll be forever loved and missed.
Hi, I'm Michael, Eddie's oldest grandson. And I just wanted to share a handful of stories about things that Papa really cared about, like his family and his friends, and also his hair. There were so many stories to choose from, but here are just a quick few. So everyone knows Papa Eddie's love of the Yankees, but not as many people know how he became involved with the team. In the early 70s, Cleveland area shipbuilder George Steinbrenner originally tried to buy the Cleveland Indians, actually. But then owner Vernon Stouffer of frozen mac and cheese fame refused to sell the team to an ownership group that included Jews such as Eddie. So rebuffed, they became fortunate when later the following year CBS put the Yankees up for sale, and they ended up already organized buying the New York team instead. And I say this as also an Indians fan, but let's face it, it ended up being a better investment. There was the time that on a plane ride back from Las Vegas, he befriended the R&B group in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, the OJs. And of course, as Papa would, he invited them to his upcoming 65th birthday party to perform. He talked about it incessantly the following days, and people probably thought he was kidding or maybe mistaken until several hours into the party, a big van rolled up and, of course, walked out the OJs who did show up. There was the time at the Intercontinental Hotel downtown. We were at a family function, and Papa snuck out to watch the Yankees game at the hotel bar. And he struck up a conversation with someone else at the bar who was wearing a Yankees hat. They became fast friends, and after the game went out on the town together. Really a pretty typical night for Papa Eddie. But we were a little surprised when a few weeks later he received a photograph in the mail, and it was of him and his new friend, and it was signed, Eddie, I had a lot of fun hanging out together, yours, LL Cool J. He had a huge heart. Papa Eddie loved people, and people loved him back. I can't imagine very many other people could walk into a deli in Cleveland in Yankees garb from head to toe in a city where everyone hates the Yankees and walk out of the deli with a room full of new friends. When my friends would ask about me and my family, the first question was always, how's Eddie? How's your grandfather doing? Sometimes, is he still so crazy? But they always cared about him because, he cared about so many other people. I was maybe 10 years old, and a memory that stands out, we were at the Thornton skating rink in Shaker. I was watching my brother play hockey, and during one of the intermissions, we went to the concessions to get some food, and someone walked up to Papa, and they started talking, and Papa was asking all these seemingly very personal questions like, how's your sister doing? How's your mom? How's your business? And so I assumed it must have been a really close friend, maybe even a relative. And so they talked for what must have been 15 minutes, and afterwards, of course, I asked him, Papa, who was that? And he looks at me and goes, I have no idea. One last story. I'm very grateful that Papa had a chance to get to know his first great-grandchild, my daughter Abigail, who turns 1 next week. He really loved her, and towards the end, when he was weak and maybe wouldn't wake up for an entire day, whenever we came over with Abigail, he would spring to life and start talking and singing. And just last week, we went over and we were singing patriotic songs together, which was his favorite. And when it was time for Abigail to go to bed, we headed out and said our goodbyes with a hug and a kiss and an I love you, not knowing that would be the last time we would ever see him alive. And so we headed for the door, and he raised his arm and called us back to his bedside. Come here. So we went back and we leaned in, and he grabbed my forearm, and I had no idea what he was going to say. And he points to little Abigail and goes, fix her hair. So we take our fingers and we comb it over to one side, and he looks at her for a second and goes, no, the other way. So we comb it the other way, and he goes, that's better. Let me give her a kiss. And that was the last time we talked to him. So, yeah, one thing you can definitely say about Papa, and I mean this in the best possible way, he really did what he wanted. He said what he wanted, ate what he wanted, lived how he wanted, and I think that a lot of people, myself included, really respected him for that and frankly wished we could pull it off like he did. He was a true original, larger than life, one of a kind, someone you could meet a single time and never forget. And for those of us who are fortunate enough to know him well, how much more so. He lived life to the fullest and left us with a legacy of countless laughs and love and memories that will last for many more lifetimes. In closing, to borrow some words from Papa's favorite singer, Frank Sinatra, looking back on his 88 years, Papa Eddie could truly say, I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway. And more, much more than this, I did it my way.
O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song that we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody and whither does it go? In darkness as in light, we turn to you, the source of life and the answer to all of life's mysteries. Will you please rise now for the El Mole Rachamim? El Mole Rachamim shochein bam romim, hamtzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina, im kadoshim utahorim kazohar harakia mazhirim, et nishmat yakirenu shahalach la'olamo. Bala rachamim yastireo b'seder kanafav la'olamim, v'yitzror b'tzror hachayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Eddie Rosenthal, our loved one who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say together, Amen. Will you please be seated? I want to announce that Eddie's family will receive friends at the residence at 7325 Cali Lane. They will receive friends today following our interment service and until 6 o'clock this evening, tomorrow from 7 to 9 in the evening, and Sunday from 2 to 4 in the afternoon and 7 to 9 in the evening. Our service will continue now at graveside at the Mayfield Cemetery. Once again, on behalf of the family, thank you so much for your presence and support